Okay, good evening and good day, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. So please, you're going to be using the comment section if you have a comment, if you have anything to say. So today we're going to be looking at Module 9. So I decided to do this Module 9 as regards our project so that we can have time to be able to execute our project. Please, if you are on the attendance today, please can you type your name on the comment section so that we know those who are present for today. So today we're going to be taking Module 9 instead of the module we need to take so that we can have time for the project we will need to do because it's attached to this module. One of it is attached to this module. So today I'll be taking Module 9. And my name is Dr. Aliu. So Module 9 talks about quality, ISO 1519 quality manual and SOP drafting. So we're going to be looking what are the content of the quality manual for the ISO 1519 and how can you draft a standard operating procedure. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope the program has been interesting. This is our ISO 15189 2022 training and certification program. So thank you, and let's continue for today. So we're going to be looking at quality manual structure and its content as the first part of it. So please pay rapt attention. If you have a question, you can always drop the question on the comment section while we proceed with the program. Now, this is very familiar with every one of us now. If you don't understand this, check this module I shared with you on the forum that talks about introduction to quality management system, or check the module 1. You get to understand the quality system essentials. We have organization, personnel, equipment, purchasing and inventory, process control, information management, document and record, occurrence management, assessment, process improvement, customer service and facility and safety. So what is a quality manual? So a quality manual is an official document developed by an organization. It's an official document developed by an organization that explains how the organization QMS operates to produce quality product and deliver quality service. So the quality manual, the QM, is an official document by the organization that directs the organization as regards to quality. So it helps us to explain what is the organization stand as regards every of the essentials. How does the organization pursue their quality? All this thing is captured in the quality manual. So any organization that does not have a quality manual does not have quality program. Now, what a quality manual should contain? Now, the quality manual should contain the scope, the exclusion, the justification. It should contain diagrams. It should contain your quality policy. It should contain the quality objectives. It should contain the employee responsibilities, the work instruction, the QMS procedure, the organization approach, and etc. And some of those templates and the way things have to be done. So this is what a quality manual should contain. It can contain the scope, the work instruction, the employee responsibility, the quality policy, the quality objectives, the QMS procedures, and etc. The manual should contain the version amended, recorded, and approved. So every version of the QM should be approved. And if there's an amended version, the old one should be discarded as obsolete document. And the new one has to be approved and duly read and signed by each employee. Now, what is the benefit of the quality manual? It describes top level standard operating procedures, process, and specification. it will help. It will help the customers use. Your customer will use it as a reference guide if they want to understand how you handle your quality management. Now they could say, okay, what does the QA manual state about this and this? It serves as reference too. The quality manual is a reference for the policies and procedures. It should be discussed the reason behind your QA policies and procedures. Am I communicating? Next, it should serve the quality manual is also a textbook for training. It will help to train your quality employees as regards what is expected from the quality of individuals. So it also serves as a training document. For continuity, tends to without a valid and a stable manual, changes can cause serious change. Please kindly mute your mic, please.
I won't say story. Story will not emanate. Eh? Come on, stop pressing my phone. It's a class.
So as I was saying, the quality manual serves as a document for continuity within the organization. It will help to validate, it will help to guide people from doing what they need to do. Without a valid and a stable manual, personnel changes can cause serious process change. So the manuals help to stabilize your QA system. That's why it is imperative that every organization must have a quality manual. Now, writing a quality manual, there is a 1519 standard requirement is needed, but the style and the structures are not specified. So when you want to write a QA manual, there are things that your QA manual must contain. However, the styles, the format may vary from organization to organization, but they are things that must contain there. Now, we are going to look at those things. Now, how many of us have written or been involved in writing a quality manual before? If you have been involved in writing a quality manual, can you make a comment? Oh, on the comment section, I've been involved in writing a quality manual, or I've seen a quality manual. If you have seen a quality manual before, you can write, I've seen a quality manual. If you have been involved in writing a quality manual or drafting a quality manual. I'm waiting for that so that we can continue. Okay, someone say I've been involved in drafting a quality manual. Okay, that's good. If you have seen a quality manual, you can type on the comment section. If you have been involved, you can write, I've been involved in drafting a quality manual, or I've seen a quality manual. Please go to the comment section and do that right away so that I can get to know and see. Okay, I've seen a quality manual. Thank you. So, has anybody else been involved in drafting a quality manual? Please, your response will be appreciated. Thank you. Seen several and been involved. Okay, I have seen a quality manual. Okay. Someone else. I've seen several. I've been involved. Okay, that's great. Who else again have been involved I have, yes, I have what I have seen or I have drafted. I've been involved in drafting the QA manual. It's very essential that we must understand it, what it takes to draft a quality manual. The more we are involved, the more simpler or easier it becomes. Someone else again, more comments, more comments. Please go to your comment section. Okay, thank you. I have a quality manual, but I think I will have to update it with some information I've gotten here. Okay, thank you. Let's go back to uh the program. Okay, by the way, quality manual is no longer a requirement in 2020 version, but not optional, as I'm right. Okay. Please, can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, so see, sometimes you need to use a steering committee, like a committee to be able to draft a quality manual, set the policy for each of the 12 elements of the quality system. Then for each policy, you need to state the goals and designate responsibility. Now, the content of the manual must include the quality policies with references to the process and procedures. And sometimes you can make references to the clauses within the ISO that the QA manual is stating. Now, number one, example of a quality manual outline could be like an introduction, having an organization and management, the quality policy, personnel, it could be things that address the personnel, everything that requires on the personnel, like the staff education, the training, the roles, their files and everything will be contained there. Then the next is document control, including the record maintenance, archiving. The period of archiving should be stated in that quality manner. Accommodation and environment, instrument, reagent, consumable management, then safety, research and development optionals if you have that, the pre-examination procedure, the examination procedure, the post-examination procedure, your quality control. Let's say, for example, now all the things you do in your quality control will be there. We'll look at it in details. I'm just stating out the outline, the laboratory information system. If there's a software, you state it there and everything. You use the version, and everything. If it's a manual based or a paper based, that will also have to be captured within the QA manual. Handling of complaint, occurrence management, communication, and other interaction. Okay. The logo is covering part of the slide. What logo is that? Please, can you see it? Can you see it clear?
No, sir. On the bottom of left right-hand corner of your slides, there is Pegasus Limited logo. It's blocking some of the content.
Yeah, I think that should be on my screen. It's not showing that. I don't know where. Is it okay now? Is it having that?
Still on. The cross that has got Pegasus Limited.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that as much as possible.
Yeah, maybe you can continue for now if you can't remove it.
Okay, I believe it's out now.
Yes, it's out.
Yeah. Yes, it's out. I guess it's out now.
Yes, it's out now.
Okay. So now
Yes, you can see, sir.
yes.
You can see it.
Yes, it's out. So other things include the instrument. Okay, we'll talk about accommodation environment. This has to be captured. The instrument, sorry, the instrument, the reagent, the consumable management, how it's being run. Everything has to be captured on the quality manual. Now, safety, all the programs you have on safety has to be captured there. Although extensively, the safety program should be captured on the safety manual, but you have to make comments on the safety procedures. The biosafety level have to be captured there. Research and development optional, the pre-examination procedures, the examination procedure, the post-examination procedures, that the pre-analytical, analytical, and the post-analytical has to be captured. Then the quality controls, the IQC you use, the daily QC you do, the West Guard rules has to be explained on that quality manual. The laboratory information system, handling of complaint and occurrence management, communication and other interaction, preventive and corrective actions, your internal audit programs, politics, policies, the ethics, and etc. has to be captured there. Then under the introduction now, you need to talk about brief history about the lab, the activities, the manual field of application, the update, who, what, where, when, how, and why. This will be captured in the introduction. Is it a government hospital? Is it a private hospital? Is it a private lab? All these things has to be captured under the brief laboratory history. The activities, the scope, all this will be captured on the introduction. Then the next is the organization and management. So what I'm doing now, I'm breaking it down to what has to be in the quality manual. Now, next we have description of the laboratory organization, the legal identity, the registration and everything, the resource requirement, the assignment of responsibility and authority, just like what we discussed in the ISO 15189 under organization and what we discussed under the quality management system as organization. So there's going to be a description. So now it's going to be a form of a description of all those things. oh, let's say Pegasus laboratory is a, a is registered so and so date with so and so bodies and so and those makes it as a legal identity. The description of the laboratory organization, the organogram has to be captured in that quality manual. Then quality policy, this is an official declaration of the quality policy by appropriate laboratory management. As they must also assure that the laboratory directors will designate a quality manager. Then under this quality policy, you should have the mission statement, the objective, the goals, the vision, all these things has to be captured in the quality manual. Number 4 talks about personnel. So in your quality manual, there should be your job description, including the qualification needed for each role. They have to be stated in the quality manual. You see that the quality manual is a robust document that captures every aspect of the quality practice of the organization in its document. The personnel list, if possible, not list by name. You can have lists in terms of like, okay, say scientists, pathologists, technicians, or whoever what it is, you can capture it that way. Or safety officers and also those can form a list. But if you write names of people, if they leave, automatically you will not need to edit that. So laboratory organization chart will be the recruitment condition, intern and student management has to also be there. If you accept that, if it's in your organization structure to accept interns and student management, you have to also put it. Let's say, for example, there are some labs that accept that are officially recognized to run internship programs. So you also can also state it that in your personnel. Then the content of the personnel files should also be stated in your quality manual. Number 5 talks about document and record. Now, document and record, the management approval, how you finalize a document, the verification, printing, signature, and transmission. All the process of verification, how to print, finalizing. Let's say there's what we call the hard copies. They can say, okay, some organization can say, okay, every document that is hard copy, they can write, okay, approve stamp on it. And so that means that document is in circulation as hard copy. The transmission of it, the verification, how to finalize document, who needs to sign SOPs, who need to sign a manual. Those things will need to be captured under document record. The confidentiality of management, storage, archiving, producing reports, list of reference documents. So you can make reference to manuals, to books, to articles, where you draw out those content for in your document and record under the quality management, under the quality manual. Now, 6 talks about accommodation and environment. So map of the laboratory premises has to be there in your QA manual. Restriction point of access, you have to put it there. Laboratory signs and other identification. Let's say, okay, if you see this sign, this is what it means. It has to be in your quality manual. Environmental requirement for laboratory, size, temperature, electrical, airflow, all those things has to be captured under accommodation and environment. Number 7 talks about instrument, reagent, and consumable management. Now, under this, we want to specify that each instrument requires a written procedure, maintenance, and quality control. All your reagents, how you order it, receive, validation, storage, all those processes, you need to state it. You don't have to write it as an SOP, but they have to be stated in the form of a statement. This is what to do. Let's say, for example, you can say, okay, every equipment, every test has to be validated before such test is being put into use. Now, our validation protocol for analytical, let's say quantitative testing, is minimum of 30 samples within run and between run. Now, I'm just giving us as an example. Then you also need to do patient verification, or sorry, patient correlation before such an equipment or such a method is being used. So you have stated what the quality manual states about validation. Now let's say storage. Let's say storage of samples. Oh, every sample that comes into the lab will be discarded after 7 working days. Those are quality. So it shows what the organization stands for when it comes to storage of that reagent or storage of that. Okay, let's say for example, we can say, oh, no reagent that has been expired or past expiration date can be used to run any patient sample, any patient test. So what this document is giving us or showing us is to show us what the organization stand as regards quality in that aspect. Possible, how it's been done. Sometimes some people can go ahead and even put their their time of monthly or a monthly requisition, as the case may be. Now, next is safety, handling of samples, materials, disinfection. Or what things is even being used for disinfection? You have to state it there. Let's say, for example, using 10% hypochlorite to disinfect your table, your workbench, you state it there. Fire instructions, hazardous chemical instructions, all those hazard chemical instructions, those packaged inside waste management, sterilization, product label, safety, even MSD sheet can also be there. So next is pre-analytical or the pre-examination procedures. The equipment that are used, you can state it there in your quality manual. The patient preparation, if there are special preparation for special tests, you can state those things there under your quality manual. The identification of samples, how you identify your samples, how you aliquot and retreatment of samples. Let's say, for example, now you want to transport samples, storage, transportation, all this has to be captured in your QA manual. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, back to discussion. So these are more has to be captured. Now, for those who are going to be handling the project on quality manual, I'm going to share like one sample of, so you look at it and you're also going to develop yours as regards the QA manual. It is very, very essential that every organization has a QA manual. Next is the examination procedure. What are the equipment used? The reagent that is used, they have to be stated. Procedures, calibrations, quality controls. Let's say, for example, your daily quality control, even to the product you use. Some people use what they call this is already predetermined assay QCs and unassayed QCs. So if you are using an assay QC, you state it. If you are using an unassayed QC, I hope we know the difference between an assayed QC and unassayed QC material. Do we know the difference? If you know the difference, you can type it on the comment section. Oh, I know the difference between assay QC and unassayed QC material. Now, the analysis and the testing procedures have to be stated in the quality manual. Okay. Someone said, yes, I know. Okay, assayed QC. Yeah, when you buy a manufacturer QC, from the manufacturer, there are some QC that already have a predetermined value. They have mentioned it have a predetermined value. That is called an assayed QC. An unassayed QC is not yet established. So you have to run multiples and establish your own reference range, establish your own values before you can use that QC to start running. So a lot of some people normally go for the unassayed QC because it's a little bit cheaper than the assayed QC. But whatever it is, if you look at the cost and of everything, because you should go to run some samples before you determine some QC, before you determine the range of that. And so that is also part of cost you also look like. So that's the difference between assayed QC and unassayed QC. The assayed QC have a defined range, while the unassayed QC you have to establish your own range. Okay, thank you. Now, validation technique. What are your validation technique for kit, method, equipment? You need to state your validation technique. And if possible, your validation protocol has to be there. What you do. This one, you have to write it out extensively. How do you validate your reagent? Your lot-to-lot validation has to be captured under this examination procedure for every of your process and your technique. How many of us know that validation is very, very essential? You must not run, you're going to see it in our next module. You cannot run any method, any test on equipment, or any new test or any method, new kit without validation. And that validation has to be as extensively, that's what the ISO document states, as extensively as possible. And until that validation passed and is approved, you are not permitted to use that equipment or use that test method. Let's say, for example, now you have, let's say, a real-time PCR, and you are using that real-time PCR to do a COVID test. And now you want to start doing HIV viral load, you want to start doing a Lassa fever. You can't just go and buy kits and say, oh, because we have been using this equipment to run other tests. You have to validate that new test on that equipment before you start using it. Let's say, for example, now you're using, let's say, Sargin product. Let's say one product of, let's say, an amplification kit, and you want to use another product, or maybe that you went out or somebody's introducing you to another product, another amplification kit. Let's say now you are not using Quagin, or you are not using any other amplification kit or whatever it is. You need to validate that new kit on that, even that on existing method, before you use it to run your test. What is validation? Validation is like it's running a known method with an unknown method to be able to validate it before you can put it into use. Can you give us SOP for validation technique? Well, you can't have one SOP for validation technique because validation differs. It all depends on what we, but we are going to discuss it as we go along. Now, post-examination. Now, under the post-examination procedure, we have the analysis of the results, final biological validation, the reference ranges, printing, copying of reports, transmission of report, validation, filing, archiving. All this process, relationship between these has to be captured in your post-examination procedure. Now, 12 talks about quality control. So now there must be a reminder of the commitment to quality. So you have to link all the control procedure, the equipment, the reagent, the personnel competency, everything extensively. All the QC program you do has to be captured in your quality manual, department by department. So if your QC procedures for hematology has to be captured, your QC, if you have a molecular, has to be there, microbiology has to be there, histology has to be there, hematology has to be there, chemistry, hormonal assays, and all the rest has to be captured. You have to have a summary of your QC procedures. Remember, we say summary of your QC procedures linked to the appropriate section in the quality manual. So you have to make reference to those documents as we proceed. Now, 13 talks about what? Corrective actions, preventive actions, and internal audits. Continuous improvement, reviewing of all these problems and errors has to be captured in your corrective and preventive action. Possible, you can put a template of your corrective action, how the corrective action should be filled, who the corrective action should go for review, how to monitor it can be captured in your QA manual. Then the frequency of your internal audit. Remember that internal audit is required under the ISO 15189. So you must have a periodic audit. The minimum has to be yearly, once a year. And you know that if there is no internal, that means for you to have internal audit, you must have internal auditors. The auditors has to be trained and certified as an internal auditor. Because if somebody is not trained as an internal auditor, you cannot carry out audit. So if someone who is not trained as an internal auditor carry out an audit, it's a what? It's a non-conformity. So apart from your QMS training, you have to go for internal audit training if you want to be an internal auditor. And you cannot be an auditor when you don't understand the quality. And remember, as an internal auditor, you cannot audit your own work. Am I communicating? Is it making sense? You can drop on the comment section if you are following what we are doing tonight. And I hope it's interesting. So internal audits are required under the ISO scheme. It's something that we can develop our staff, our team to be able to do that. Now, these are something that you go for audit and most facilities don't do it. Don't do it. They don't have internal auditor. So audit. So it is the responsibility of the QA manager to organize such, or the QA officer to organize such. And he or she must not necessarily have to be the one that will do it, but people who have been trained within the system as internal auditor can carry out those activities. Let's say, for example, okay, let me ask now, if I have a lab, let's say Pegasus Laboratory, and I have one in Nigeria, I have one in Kenya, and I have two in Nigeria and one in Kenya. Now, if I send someone from Nigeria to Kenya to go and do an audit, is it an internal audit or external audit? Type on the answer in the comment section. The same lab, but different country. Is it an internal audit or an external audit? I hope we get the question. Someone say internal audit. Okay. Someone else. Internal audit. Okay. Internal audit. Okay. Let's say, for example, kindly repeat the question. Okay. Okay. Someone said external audit. Okay. Someone say internal audit. Internal audit. Okay. So I say if I have a lab, let's say I have a company and there's a lab here in Nigeria, one is in Kenya, and I send someone from Nigeria to go and audit the Kenya team. Is it an external audit? So someone say I would like to call it an external audit unless otherwise stated in our system. It's an internal audit, not an external audit. So since it's within the organization, it's an internal audit, irrespective of the location. It's known as an internal audit. But if, let's say, for example, now like my organization is coming to audit your lab, it's an external audit, even though you're in the same country, or once it's coming from outside the system, the organization, it's known as what? An external audit. So doing audit training, if you take audit training, you know all this. Even there are ways of auditing. We have there are different techniques of auditing. We have virtual, horizontal audit, witnessing, uh, and other aspects of audit, the type of audit and techniques and all those things are captured in order. So we need to also have internal auditors within our system. It's part of the requirement so that they can carry out audits. And minimum, they have to do that once a year, minimum. But for lab that are developing, I recommend twice a year so that it will help to improve the system periodically. So thank you. Now, this is the structure of document. Now we have quality manual, processes, procedure, work instructions, forms, and record. Now, all these are aspects and hierarchy of document: policy, process, procedure, work instruction. These are the hierarchies, structure of documentation. So any question on the quality manual? If you have a question, you can, before we go to the next session, you can type your question or you ask your question. Any question?
Dr. Aliu.
Yes. Any question?
All right. On the quality manual, I had asked it in the chat, but probably didn't get captured. Is there any reason why the 2022 version is a bit silent on quality manual? If you look at the comparison table at the end of the standard, it will tell you under 2022 that it's optional, no longer a requirement, see 8.2.1. Whereas the 2012 had even details on what needs to be in the quality manual.
Okay. When we get to 8 points, we're going to discuss that. But however, now what are the functions of the manual? Now, when something is optional, it means you can do with it or without. But when you are given an option, when you are given an option to use, let's say for example, now you are writing an exam, you say you can use an SOP or you don't use SOP. It means that if your system is not strong enough, if you don't understand the formula, you don't understand the procedure. Just like for example, now when they are doing witnessing audit, you can bring out your SOPs and put it on your decks and perform your text. And you can decide not to, depending on your expertise or depending on the levels of the lab. Now, however, I strongly recommend that it serves as a guide, it serves as a training manual, it serves a whole lot of things as a reference document for the organization. Now, when we get to that requirement, we're going to look at it, why it is there, because now there are a lot of documents now that comes up within the system that makes which forms a component of the quality manual. Now, but to me, I see that quality manual as a summary. If I go to any organization, the first thing I do is to read the quality manual. If I read the quality manual, I'm 85% done with their process. I can tell you as an expert, as a level of which I am, I can tell you, I can close down and tell you this is what is happening in this organization at every department. Why? Because that quality manual captured every aspect of the quality system. So that is it. So when we get to that, plus we're going to also look at more details about it. Now, any other question? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Can I ask?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you for the explanation. I just have one question on what you just mentioned now. You said the quality manual has almost all the information about the lab, but does it also mean that all the information in the quality manual are being implemented?
Does it also mean what?
That all the procedures in the quality manual are being implemented in that laboratory?
Yes. Every procedure, you don't put what is not implemented. Because when you are audited, let's say you are audited by a external body, three things they use normally to audit. One, they use the ISO standard. They use what your documents state. And they also use their own accreditation body requirement, which is also drawn from the standard. Let's say, for example, now your retention policy. The ISO document will say you have to have a retention policy for a document. But your manual will tell us, okay, what is your retention policy? So it's your intended statement. Are you getting your intended statement? Just like, for example, now, someone just this on the side, like someone said during the wedding, say, for better, I will remain with you for better, for this. So you are saying that this is what you are doing. This is what you are going to do. So you must do it. You must implement it. Any deviation from that is a non-conformity. And remember that your quality manual has to be drawn from the standard. So we are saying, what is your commitment? The manual is stating to the organization your commitment as regards this process, what you have said you are going to do. Let's say, for example, now the document. Now, when we are looking at our next module that talks about process, we're going to be looking like IQC. Now, they're going to tell you to have a quality control program. So your QA manual will tell you, for example, now that I run QC twice a day in 24 hours. concerning this assay. Oh, I run every 12 hourly. So if you say you run 12 hourly, then we're doing an audit and assessment. I'll go and look. Do you do what you say your manual is stating? 12 hours. So if, for example, now you are saying that you are run 12 hourly, at the end of the day, if you run 24 hourly and you are running tests on it, it shows you that you have violated what the manual is stating. So it's your intended direction, what you are doing with regards to quality. That is what is captured in the quality manual. Any other question?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Dr.
you.
Aliu, yeah. Good evening, sir. Thank you for the lecture. Really appreciate it. Sir, I just want
I'm not
to
yet
ask.
done. No. Just ask your question before I proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just ask. I just want to, please, can you give us, like, if, let's say I don't have quality manual, or I have is not well written, and I want to do it now. Please, how can I start? Please, I
That's
just
the,
want to have. Yeah.
okay. That's the reason why. That's the reason why we are doing this. Now,
Okay.
that's the reason why we are doing this, so that we can. Then some of us are going to form into group of projects, and some are going to doing some going to be doing quality manual. So those who fall under those groups are going to have like a template to see what it is. Though remember we said that it's not cast in stone, but these are things that have to be captured on it. So all these things I'm discussing with you, you have to look at them and what does. So you have to be intentional about. So it's like writing a book. I see quality manual like writing a book. So when you're writing a book, these are the format. You first and foremost, you have to draft the headlines. Then you now start developing each headline based on the requirement. So that is how to write it. So these are the guidelines, the style of what I'm sharing with you. Then you have to develop it based on, let's say for example, I talked about proficiency testing. So you can say, okay, some people use TISO, some people use recast, some people use what other common ones that are there. Some people use a lot of EQA programs are available in the world. So you will state it there what you use. And if it changes, you need to also change it. You can also state in the QA manual on procedures for reviewing your external quality assessment report. How you can use things like BITC, bias, imprecision, trend, shift, on how to review it. So you go on the graph, you can show on the graph what does the bias mean. So that's why I say it also starts as a training manual. What does an imprecision means? You can show a graph showing imprecision, showing a graph that is showing a shift, showing a graph that's showing a trend. It could be upward trend, it could be downward trend. The bias can be a positive bias or a negative bias. Then trend can be an upward trend or a downward trend, and shift like that can be an upward shift or downward shift. So you can show those things in the manual. So when someone picks it and is viewing an EQA, he knows what a shift is, he knows what a bias is, he knows what a trend is, he knows what an imprecision is. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Any other question before I proceed? Okay. Next, we are going to be looking on how to develop standard operating procedure. If you have ever written an SOP before, can I get a response? I've written an SOP before. If you have written an SOP before, can you type on the chat box? If you have written an SOP before. I know all of us have seen an SOP. If you have written one, okay. Okay, severally. I've written before. Okay, that's good. Okay, yes. Wow, that's impressive. Okay, thank you. Let's go. I've written before. Let's see. Now, okay. Generally, let's look at steps that are involved in creating SOPs. We all know what SOP is, standard operating procedures. This helps us to have a structure or a systematic way of doing things. As I said earlier, one of these slides, if I bring a wither test now, I bring a kit now, I give it to 3 scientists here or 4, and I ask you to run it without an SOP, without looking at the packaging insert. You are going to run that test, likely going to have a different result, different reporting system. True or true? True or true?
Yes, sir, you are right.
Yeah, I'm right. Yes, you are going to have some different results. You'll be surprised how a common with that test will have a different reporting, different style, and sometimes you will be shocked how some persons come about that result. I'm sorry to say, do you know that a lot of people don't even know how to do a with that test? I'm telling you, that's as simple as it. But when you don't have SOPs, these are the things. These are things. It results to. Now, generally, I'm talking about general. So wherever you find yourself, whether in the healthcare, in the lab, in the industry, anywhere, if you use this principle, you can write an SOP. I've written SOPs for different organizations. So you can write an SOP when you follow this. When you follow these general steps. Number 1, understand how you are going to present your SOP. So you need to create a simple checklist, a linear checklist, map out the process and flow diagram where necessary. So you need to understand how. Now, organizations, there are organizations that have a format, a style, especially the front page of how their SOPs look like. There are some people, their SOP headlines is just 1 page. There are some organizations, their SOP headline is like a header. So you must understand, you must have a style. Understand how you are going to present your SOP. Now, next, gather the relevant stakeholders. You don't just write SOP and dump it for people, or else at the end of the day, there will be bottlenecks. So who are the people who are relevant to that process, Let's say, for example, now I'm writing an SOP for let's say for the dispatch service. So I don't just sit there in the comfort of my AC. I just in the comfort of my system and start drafting it. So I have to engage relevant stakeholders. Work out your purpose. What is the purpose of that SOP? For the establish. Number 4, determine the structure of your SOP. That which I've explained. Prepare the scope of the procedure. What is the scope of the SOP? What is the SOP meant to achieve? You have to know that. So that at the end, you don't just write and so there must be a scope. Use a consistent style of writing. Now I'm going to explain some of this style of writing. Use a command word. Start with what? Command. So in SOPs, you don't suggest. When you suggest for people, suggestive words, that means it's not serious. Use a verb at the beginning of a statement for a task. This kind of language makes it clear what you have to do, and it packs a punch. You are punching it directly. You are not suggesting it. When you use a verb, when you use an action command, be concise. Don't waffle in your SOP writing. Don't be ambiguous. Be clear and convey the important information only. Talk to the air rather than the reader. Like, be assertive as if you are just talking to a lot of people and not just one person. Now, another thing is when you're writing SOPs, when you're writing a procedure, don't bullet it. Why do we not bullet? You need to number it. Let's say add 1 mil. Add is a command, true or false? Add 1 mil to 5 mil of this is a command. Add. Am I communicating? So when you are doing a procedure, you number it 1, 2, 3. You don't or IV. You don't use bulletin. Why don't we use bulletin? Why do we use number in procedures? Anybody? Why do we use numbers?
Hello, can I speak? To show that the documents are controlled.
Okay. Well, the numbering at the top or the bottom is what is controlled. But why do we use numbers in procedures? Let's say we want to do a procedure for staining now. Say number 1, add, so number 2. So why do we use number? For reference purpose, yes, that's it. So we use number for reference purpose. So you can make reference to step 4. We use number for reference purpose. That's the exact word. Now, I say make it scannable.
Sorry.
Yes.
There is also a very important point as per numbering, which I wrote down to command the chronology of events in the testing process.
Yes. To also show the order. Chronological means to order the order of events. So that somebody does not go and do number 4 before number 1. Think he has done the process. So that order 1, do this, 2, do this, 3, do this. Because if you do 2 before 1, you have done the process, but you have not done it well. So that numbering, because you cannot just go to class 5 when you have not been class 1. So number 1 say do this number. So you have to do number 1 before you do number 2, because your number 1, the success of number 1 will determine the success of number 2. Command shows the chronological way of event of testing procedures. Now, next is, okay, I said use correct notation if applicable. Work out all the necessary steps of the process. Try to assess potential problem in the process. So when you do your SOPs, look at the risk. Look at what are the potential problem this is going to create and this is going to solve. Determine the metrics against which the SOPs can be judged. Test the SOP, the process. So you have to test that SOP. So you can't just create an SOP without testing it. You have to test it in form of validating it. Then you send it to the process to superiors to look at it, whoever that is in charge, look at it, and you can test run it before you finally approve. Before then, you have to clarify the method, optimizing the process. Run a risk assessment on your SOP. Consider creating a flow diagram, if possible. You can now finalize and implement what? The SOPs. Now, I also said that SOPs has to be approved. All your document has to be approved and quality control by the QA department before it is being used. Any document that is not quality controlled, it's not an accepted document. And once a document is obsolete, it should not be in circulation. Now, what are the types of SOPs? Who can mention the type of SOPs we have in the lab? From your own, you see, what kind of SOPs do we think we have in the lab?
Yeah, we do have general SOPs, we have safety SOPs, we have instrument SOPs, we might have quality SOPs, might have materials management, so on and on and on.
Yeah, there are different kinds of SOPs. They are all right, but SOP can also be classified under 3 headings. One is equipment SOPs. So all SOPs on how to calibrate, operate, and maintain an equipment are all can be classified under what? Equipment SOP. So every piece of equipment has an SOP and must be written on how to calibrate, use, maintain that piece of equipment, including the microscope. Am I communicating? Yes. So that is equipment SOPs. Now we have analysis SOP, or what we call process SOP. So these are SOP on how to perform an examination or analysis or a test. We have many countless numbers of this. Now, for every examination, an SOP must be written explaining how to make the reagent, if you are making the reagent, how to consume the reagent, how to prepare the sample, how to perform the examination, how to perform the quality control. That is also aspect of what? analysis what SOPs. Then we also have what we call procedure SOP. Who can give me an example of a procedure SOP in the lab? Example of a procedure SOP.
Bench aids.
Okay. Bench aid is a form of an SOP, but it's not
Results
not
validation.
not specific. Not specific to it's not specific
Results.
to process.
Results validation.
Okay,
For
result
validation.
validation is a procedure. Yes, a procedure on how to validate result. Okay, someone else again. Proficiency testing SOP, yes.
Delegation of responsibilities. Delegation of tasks, please.
Phlebotomy technique, sample preparation, sample processing, storage, all these are form of what? Procedure SOPs. Even blood collection, identification of patients, those are procedures. The range for collecting a patient sample, as you can see it on the screen, to cleaning of the lab, how to clean the lab, how to disinfect an equipment, how to disinfect the lab, the bench, all these are procedures. Now, an SOP outline can be this: the title of the SOP, the objective of the SOP, the scope of the SOP, the abbreviations, the definition, terms used in the SOP, procedure divided into section, the principles and material and reagent, procedures, the quality control, the document related to the SOP, the form related to the SOP, the references, the appendix, can include forms, additional instruction, manufacturer manuals, packaging chart, checklists. All these are outlines for an SOP writing in the lab. Please, can you see it? Look at it. If you have seen an SOP, be familiar with it. Abbreviation, scope, title page, numbering of the SOPs where applicable, definitions, terms, procedures, principles, quality control, the document related to the SOP. Now, there are some SOP that may not have QC, like a procedure SOP, so that may not be applicable for that. Am I communicating? So these are hierarchy too. We have quality manual, quality policy, quality objective, organization chart, process map, standard operating procedure, job aid, job description, customer requirement, approved vendor list, etc., and all these things. Now, see this. There is only
Please,
one of official version of the quality manual.
please kindly go
Please
back
listen
to
to me. There's only
the hierarchy and again and take over what you said, please.
any question. Quality manual, quality policies, quality objectives, organization charts, process maps, standard operating procedure, job aids. Okay, I think I missed out something. I was supposed to talk about jobs aid, yeah. Okay, yeah, bench aid, yeah. I think, yeah. So these are these. I've showed this previously before. Then job aid and bench aid. Why? All the SOPs on use and maintenance of equipment have now been written. These SOPs are stored in a particular place. Now, this bench aid helps us to have like a flow chart or something that is more concise that we can use on our bench. Develop bench aid for all relevant pieces of equipment when necessary. Let's say, for example, on how to use a centrifuge. The person doesn't need to start going to be reading everything about the manual. So let's say, for example, now SST, you want to spin SST, you want to spin other, let's say, which other things again, lithium heparin tubes, or you want to spin the fluoride oxalate, you want to spin for INRO and PT, the different time you want to spin for viral load and all those things, different timing you can pick 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 2000, 500 RPM, 10,000 RPM, all those things can be captured in the bench aid and the rest. So there are stepwise procedure for routine use of piece of equipment. They contain the procedure for operating the piece of equipment. If necessary, the basic preventive maintenance steps can also be captured. Calibration procedure that needs to be carried out regularly. Highly important. Sorry, make the bench aid as part of the SOPs, including the bench aid as appendix. Sometimes it also makes your SOP to be very, very robust. Flowchart and others can also be used for our work as we proceed. Now, in summary, there should be only one official version of the QA manual. So one organization should not have two QM. The quality manual is never finished, it's always being improved because a lot of things are going to be changing. Your scope are going to be changing. Let's say, for example, you started a lab with 3 scope. Let's say hematology, chemistry, and microbiology. And now you now have a molecular lab, or you now have a histology lab. So you have to include that in your QA manual. It should be read, understood, and accepted by everyone. It should be written in clear, easily understood language and not jargons. The quality manual should be dated and signed by the management. Standardized page header should be used, and the version of each procedure should be noted. Developing a quality manual is a very big job, but it's also very rewarding and useful for the laboratory. Okay, somebody wrote, word of caution on putting job aid on the wall. I have seen a lot of posters that are older versions than the one on the SOP. One should remember to change it and assassin when the SOP is being revised. So if you have a good QA team, you shouldn't have that because they can pick it as a non-conformance. And when they pick it as a non-conformance, it is expected that the person who's in charge of that bench or that department will clear the non-conformance, so you can't have it there. So when you have a job aid that is there 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and it has been there, and they have had a revision, it shows you that the QA team is not actually doing what they need to do, because they should be picking up those things. Remember, the QA, one of the responsibilities of the QA is to ensure there's implementation of the quality. Okay. Any question?
Yes, I have a question. Good evening, and thank you for the awesome presentation. You said something about conducting a risk assessment on the quality manual. Please, can you throw more light on that? Thank you very much.
Okay. So I think we did risk assessment in the previous session, so you can go back and check that. But how you do a risk assessment? We are saying that okay, running the manual, like what is the risk of implementing this procedure? There are some procedures you implement, or the SOPs you implement, or things, structures you put in, there's a risk. So you need to run a risk assessment on it. What is the risk of this procedure we are putting in? Is it does it have a low risk, a medium risk, or a high risk? If it has a high risk or even a medium risk, you show that it has to be reversed. Am I communicating? That's what it means. So if you understand what we discuss on risk assessment is identifying risk and find harmful things that could cause harm. So if you put a procedure and there is a risk on it, let's say, for example, now I'm doing a bench a procedure for decontamination. And the material I'm saying that we are using to decontaminate, at the end of the day, it has a harmful effect, or the concentration is not high. So if you do a risk assessment on that, you'll be able to know the risk on it. So that's what I mean by that. Any other question?
Yes, Dr. Aliu. I wanted to pose a question concerning we have used an approach like for making the quality manual using the 12 quality system essentials. That's one approach. Is there any alternative approach that can be used when you're making a quality manual?
I didn't get that. Please, can you recap the question?
Okay, I was saying we use the approach of the 12 QSEs as an approach to developing a quality manual.
Right.
Are there any alternative approaches to developing a quality manual? I was thinking of things like use
Well,
the standard as it
so
is. Let's say.
you can either use the quality system essential or you can use the standard.
Okay. No, that's
That
the
is also
part I wanted
another
to look.
approach. Yes,
Yeah.
because if you use the standard, you will end up capturing because the essentials are generic.
Yes.
With the standard is specific. However, the standard is developed from the essential in a more specific way that suits the lab requirements. So there's no way you're not going to use the two. So, but you can use, but the manager said there is no specific style for doing this, but you have to capture what is in the ISO document. If you do
Yeah,
that, you will end up capturing it in that way.
By standards, do you mean the ISO 15189 standards?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes, you can take it and look through all the topics as they are, populating them, because we found out in some audits that a certain